Hello, hello, hello. This is Tanya Jones Awalusi coming to you from Butterfly Effect Counseling and Consulting LLC. Now, if you have been paying attention and watching the videos, click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, then you know today we have part 2 of Busting Up Some Stress with Chris Halbohm. Now, he is not only going to tell us more about how we can do this, but he's also going to tell us how we can have direct access to him and all his knowledge. Come on in, stay tuned, and keep hitting that notification button so you don't miss a beat. Just like the wind blows, subscribe. Chris Halbohm up next. Okay, and we are back for part 2. We are here with Chris Halbohm, and we are ready to actually find out what are some ways, Chris, to reduce stress. Please help us.
All right. Well, the first and classic way to reduce stress is to catch yourself and notice you might want to breathe differently. So what would happen if you just took and we're talking to the viewers, a deep breath, hold that breath for a moment, and then let that breath out. Now, this may seem very simple, but the way that presses on the vagus nerve and causes the parasympathetic response in the autonomic nervous system, those are big words for you'll feel better.
I love that.
So yeah, that's going to help you to do what we talked about before we were recording actually today about slowing down and just going really gentle with yourself and what's going on around you. So that's the first tip. Okay. Breathe deep, hold it for a few seconds, and then let it go.
Okay.
Really try it. Yeah.
Yeah. We do a lot of deep breathing techniques in therapy, so it's exciting to know that we're at least on the same track on that one. All right.
Yeah,
what else can we do?
All right. This one's going to sound a little interesting. It turns out that the things that we think are stressing us out are really pictures, sounds, and feelings in our mind, the way that we're perceiving the situation. In Clifford Wright's book, Basic Techniques, Book 2, he talks about a neurolinguistic programming, which is another fancy word for how words affect our nervous system and language. And he talks about the presupposition that the map is not the territory. In other words, the territory is the real world outside of our head. The map is what we have inside of our head, but our map is not accurate most of the time. We're always learning from the outside world. This relates to what you were talking about, thinking outside the box before we hit record today. So we have these pictures, sounds, and feelings. Well, what if you were to shrink down, imagine the stressor that you think is stressing you, the thing that you think is stressing you, and shrink it down, make it smaller in your mind. A good example would be to think of it, well, dare I say, pick a person that might be giving you a hard time and picture them in the palm of your hand and shrink them down to about 6 inches tall. And see them literally, just see them dressed up in clown clothes with the squeaky voice going, and shaking their finger at you, and their little foot stomping on the ground as they're talking. And then play clown music, circus music behind that. Now, how do you feel about that person? Now, please be careful with this one, because it is possible. Oh, please, please be careful with this one, because it is possible that that person may be having your best interest at heart and you just don't see it. So we're always separating the doer from the deed. We're saying, well, the thing that they may be doing may or may not be useful for us, but we're always wanting to respect the person. So please be careful with that technique, but it changes how you feel about the person, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Mhm.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
Mhm. And another thing, the Columbo approach. Imagine, try this technique with the issues of your life. If you can shrink down the issues of your life and see them as small and manageable around you, and you tower above them, how do you feel differently?
Mm.
And that is a technique from one of Scott McFall, my mentor's mind magic home tapes. But that's the idea with that. So you feel different, don't you?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got two handy ways of how we can reduce our stress. What are some more ways?
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yeah, there really are. Yeah. So one of the things I would invite you to do, anyone who's listening to this that really needs to reduce stress, is give yourself permission to take pressure off.
Mm.
In other words, realize, and this was actually a metaphor that Scott gave to Clint as we first visited with him, where the idea is that there's a point where more throttle won't make the boat go faster in the water. There's a top speed of that boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And more throttle doesn't make it go faster. So sometimes bringing our hand off the throttle actually makes the boat go a little faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, take breaks. Um, give yourself breaks after 20 minutes of work. Give yourself breaks. That gives gap in the brain where the brain can actually process a new solution.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Tanya, I want to ask you, is there anything in that technique or tip that you can see I could clarify a little better, or it's anything you want to ask about that particular take the pressure off tip?
No, I love it. I'm thinking about myself personally. That's something that I've been doing in my professional world a lot, and just trying to bring things back a little bit. Even as a therapist, it's a lot of go, 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 fix, fix, fix. But really bringing it back and just kind of saying, wait, let me take a step back. If I'm hearing right, I'm hearing take a step back, take a
Yeah,
break even. It's traditional that, when you're with a client, you immediately are either doing the note while you're talking to them, or you have to immediately do the note right after. And sometimes for me, it's such an emotional experience, just how I'm wired, that I just need a whole a whole moment before I even try to do the notes. So yes, coming off of that throttle a little bit and just backing up and saying, no, I'm actually going to do a lot better if I wait and
mm-hmm.
take a moment.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So you're saying you notice that your brain actually processes what you need to write down in the notes
yeah,
better
better.
if you just give a few minutes.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
need that recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We think that the harder we try, the better the result, but that's not actually true the way the subconscious mind works.
yeah,
It's the
that-
opposite.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there some more ways that we can reduce our stress?
We do. I have a few more for you. Um, One of the ways that I was able to reduce and eliminate finally migraine headaches. And again, I'll put the caveat here that any pain management needs to be accompanied by a physician referral. So if, again, I'm not a medical doctor, if you need medical assistance, seek it, ask your doctor always. But the way that I was able to eliminate migraine headaches was I noticed I became body aware about 30 minutes prior to.
Mm.
So I noticed the symptoms and signs of it prior to it happening
Wow.
and trained myself using hypnosis and these techniques to learn how not to have the migraine headache.
That's good.
It kind of relates to the one that we just talked about taking pressure off, but please remember to take care of yourself first, or else you really don't have anything to give anyone else.
Oh, that's so valuable. We are all about self-care.
Mhm.
That's so
Can't
good.
pour from an empty cup, as some of my colleagues say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's so good.
Yeah.
And I think we always need that reminder.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We do, because again, we think, oh gosh, there's this, Clint, in our previous conversation with Clint just now,
Yeah.
Clint was talking about how he has he didn't use this word, but he's learning how to delegate
Yeah.
and delegate with a certain kind of mood
Yeah.
of this is okay to delegate, and taking pressure off actually makes it so that things can get done better,
Yeah.
more efficiently.
No, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And he had a lot to manage too. And I'm like, whew,
Mm-hmm.
gotta take care of myself and my kids. That was a lot.
Right, making sure they get breakfast and everything,
Right.
and
Exactly.
put the clothes on straight.
Exactly. Okay. So do we have some more ways of reducing stress? I feel like you have more goodies up your sleeve.
I do. We've got a couple more, two more.
Okay.
Um, this one is particularly cool. It is a hypnosis technique called progressive relaxation, and usually you're going to have a trained, seasoned, certified hypnotist walk you through this and work on this with you. But the basic idea is you start by relaxing one muscle group at a time, usually from the feet up to the head.
Mhm.
And you actually go ahead and you start with just the feet, relax them, move to the next muscle group, the calf muscles, and move up.
Mhm.
Now, of course, I'm oversimplifying this so that for today's purposes, but there's another way that you can do this technique that's even cooler.
Okay.
And it works very quickly, typically,
Mm.
to help relax the body. What you do is you tense the muscles of that one muscle group first, and then you relax it.
Mm.
And what this does is it gives you the awareness of the difference between tension and relaxation.
Mm.
And then you move to the next muscle group and upward and so on.
Wow.
So that's called progressive relaxation. Again, that's something that it's really best to do that with a professional,
Mhm.
but you get the idea that it's not rocket science,
Mhm.
but that's a very useful technique to do.
Yeah.
And you let that relaxation flow.
Mhm. Yeah. I've heard when using that you can even envision and kind of bring imagery into it and
Mhm.
envision yourself like a wet noodle, just kind of
Yes,
limp and so
you're
that's
right.
interesting.
You're right. The metaphor is usually like a wet dish rag on a kitchen counter. And usually if we're picking up and dropping the arm of the client in the chair, or they're doing it themselves, and there's a way to do that. It's a little complicated, but
Yeah.
you can have the arm just flops right down like a wet noodle or dish rag.
Mm.
And that's called catalepsy. And that's a sign of hypnosis, actually. Yeah.
I learned something new.
The last one we're going to introduce to your folks today
Yes.
is something that my mentor Scott McFall, in his book with Stephen Covey, Mission Possible. Stephen Covey, the uh, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
He, in Mission Possible, Scott talks about planning backwards, or
Mhm.
backward is the correct word, planning backward.
Mhm.
Instead of looking at the problem, which is a small scope and narrow in its ability to focus on things in general, we are able to look at the broad scope of the whole project and plan backward what we're going to do to get the outcome. It's two different ways of thinking. In other words, we can't really solve the problem if we think the problem is unsolvable.
Mm.
The traditional metaphor for this is, how do you eat an elephant?
Mm.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
But this technique does that, but backwards. So in other words, put your intended goal
Yeah.
there, and then think backward. Well, what resources do I need? What skill sets do I need? What um, what are the things that I need, and what goals need to be achieved to get those goals? But if you have the main goal first, then you have something. If you're just fighting fires all the time,
Yeah.
that's not going to work to get your goal.
I
So
like that.
plan backward, and
Yeah.
that takes a lot of stress off.
I like that.
Yeah.
It seems to kind of give you like this vision of where you're going, and then this action of going backwards.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Vision, what you said is vision is the key
Yeah.
word, because you're actually, it turns out, and I won't go into all of it. I wish we had time to, but the nutshell version is this: people who process the world around them with their eyesight
Mm.
get more done
Mm.
than people who are auditory or kinesthetic.
Oh,
And
okay.
kinesthetic and auditory are just slower,
Mm.
but visual, it works wonders.
I knew there was a reason I succeeded in this world. I am definitely visual.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is awesome. I think that when we put all of these together, and maybe we could just do like a rundown on your list again of those
Mm-hmm.
skills that we could use in order to reduce the stress. Because let's summarize it.
Summarize. Okay. So you have breathing is
Mhm.
a great way to just notice when you need to reduce stress and slow down and take that deep breath.
Yeah.
Hold it and then let it go.
Mhm.
Uh, the second technique I would call shrinking down the problem.
Mhm.
Just seeing yourself as emotionally bigger than the problem. You're more important than the issues of your life.
Mhm.
The third one, give yourself permission. Please give yourself permission to take pressure off. Um, take those breaks. Give your brain gap. 4 is notice the signs early when you do need to slow down. Just notice it early and give yourself that permission that we just mentioned. But
Yeah.
notice it earlier, become body aware.
Yes.
Okay. And the fifth one is the progressive relaxation, which is a little bit more formal of a technique, but it's very, very powerful, that tensing and relaxing of muscles.
Yeah.
And finally, the sixth one would be plan backward. Plan so that you can get your visual goal,
Yeah.
and build backward from that. Build what you know you need to get to that goal.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that.
Thanks for asking for the summary, because I think that's
Yeah.
going to help people.
Absolutely. I'm one of those ones. I love taking notes, and sometimes I'm like, oh, what was that? Could they say that again? So I love a good summary.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, you just have so much knowledge. You're out here. We learned in the last video your passion behind wanting to help reduce stress and wanting to help your clients. But the question we all need to know is, what is the best way for everyone to work with you?
All right. Well, it turns out that there are many more techniques that we can play with and many things that we can do live.
Mm.
And we happen to have a program that I have been putting together, and it may not be for everyone, but it might be perfect for some of the people listening and watching. So what I'd like to do is extend an invitation, if that's okay, into that, to know about that special program. Is it all right if I talk just a couple of minutes about that and what it is? And
Absolutely. Please tell us.
yeah, so it's hypnosisadventure.com, and it'll bring you to a page that just has a special link to say stress relief. That brings you to the program. And that program happens to involve some live sessions with me and a bunch of extra things that are really cool. Like you do get, these are bonuses that go with it. You get a copy of my book, End Worry and Sleep Well. You will get your own copy of the home hypnosis recording, Letting Go of Overreacting to Stress.
Wow.
So we all need to give ourselves that permission, and we all need to have a little bit of help along the way.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of bonuses with that. I won't go into all of them right now, but they're all there on that page. You will even get an exclusive private interview with Scott McFall, a copy of that. I should say the copy of the audio from that I did with him. You get the exclusive private interview audio.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I even included in there as one of the bonuses, a rapport and communication skills module. So lots of really beneficial stuff. Again, it's hypnosisadventure.com. And please be sure to tell me that Tanya sent you so
Yes.
that I know where that came through. So
That's
that's the easy way to get in touch. Hypnosisadventure.com.
That's wonderful. I love that you have this resource, and it kind of expands your services, right? It's a way for them to reach you and have easier access to you and all your wonderful knowledge. So that's good. I'm grateful that you were able to do that, and it definitely allows more people to get to the
Yeah.
hypnosis knowledge that you have.
Yeah, I would love to see, you're right, you're right. I would love to see more and more people learn how to do this.
Mhm.
So for themselves and for others.
Absolutely. Well, it's always a pleasure, Chris. I love learning more and more, and definitely have been taking little bits and pieces of what I've learned sitting across from you in a Zoom, and applying it to my own personal life. So that's been amazing. I thank you so much for doing these videos with me and kind of coming on here to share your knowledge.
Yeah, you bet. I'm enjoying it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, you heard it here. Definitely check out the links that will be in the description. I'll make sure you have all of the information for Chris, and of course, all of the information for we had his guest speaker Clint in the last video, so that we can support one another, and that's what we're all about here on this channel, making sure that you have all the knowledge that you need and resources and support. So thank you, Chris, one more time for being here. It is always a pleasure, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Awesome.